Daniel Ricciardo is currently the hottest and latest topic in the Formula 1 news today. Why? Well, it's because the F1 driver is looking to join a new camp. The Australian-Italian driver has just left the McLaren team, and he stated that he will continue to be active in the Formula 1 paddock in 2023. However, he does not intend to compete in any other racing series outside of Formula 1 during that time. Ricciardo has decided to sit out the upcoming season in order to concentrate on making a comeback to Formula 1 in 2024 and joining a top team. It has been revealed that both Mercedes and Red Bull are interested in hiring Daniel Ricciardo as their reserve driver. But which team will Ricciardo join? We will be discussing Ricciardo's exit from McLaren, his big decision, and a lot more in today's video. But before we begin, we'd want to welcome you to our YouTube channel, so be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the post notifications to stay up to date on the most recent Formula 1 news and much more. Now, let's dive right into today's video, shall we?
Here comes Sebastian Vettel! Through goes Hamilton! Max Verstappen wins a Formula 1 Grand Prix!
Since leaving Red Bull in 2018, where he won 7 of his 8 career races while spending 5 years, the 33-year-old has struggled to make more wins. He moved from Renault to McLaren after 2 generally disappointing seasons there. Despite winning the team's lone race since 2012 at the Italian GP last year, his teammate Lando Norris regularly outpaced him. After a disappointing season and negotiating a buyout with McLaren, Daniel Ricciardo will not have a seat for the 2023 F1 season. For the second year in a row, the Australian's F1 season was not excellent since he frequently failed to score points. With only 35 points this season, the 33-year-old is presently ranked 12th among F1 drivers according to the rankings. While Ricciardo's standing as a driver has definitely declined at McLaren, his outsized presence has made him one of the sport's most beloved figures, raising the value of his reserve option for potential suitors. Ricciardo has reportedly stated that he favors the idea of joining a strong team as a reserve driver. He stated that he preferred the role of a reserve driver because he would want to secure a return to a good season in 2024. Since Ricciardo has a pretty decent winning history, he won 8 races, he is clearly overqualified for the reserve driver post, and teams from all over the grid will be vying for his services. Despite being connected to a number of F1 teams, the 2023 racing possibilities were disappointing to the Australian driver. However, he still wants to be a part of the grid whenever it's possible. As a result of Ricciardo's decision to quit McLaren, Oscar Piastri, another Australian, has been brought in to drive in place of the current driver by the British F1 team. After Piastri's contract dispute with Alpine is settled, he will sign the agreement. Although Alpine wanted to keep the young driver on staff, he stated that he did not want to be promoted to the Alpine seat Fernando Alonso will be vacating for the next year. So now that a replacement is already in place, there's no going back. It's time for Ricciardo to move on. With few choices available on the grid while he plans his comeback, the 33-year-old has taken a huge gamble by deciding to sit out the 2023 season. However, as this year has shown, the F1 market is flexible and subject to change. For 2024, there will almost surely be some opportunities. The question is whether Ricciardo will be interested in these positions and whether he can persuade teams to extend him a contract. Both Mercedes and Red Bull have expressed an interest in signing him for the next season. During the Mexican Grand Prix, Mercedes team executive Toto Wolff said, "I think Daniel is speaking to a few teams about a potential role, also Red Bull. We really like him, and he has a fantastic personality. But we haven't decided who will be our third driver yet." Wolff was questioned about what Ricciardo might provide to the squad given that Lewis Hamilton and George Russell were the primary drivers. In response to the query, the Mercedes executive responded, "Personally, he's been around for a while. He is an expert in these vehicles, which may be quite helpful. I don't want to spread any rumors though, because we haven't made a decision." Ricciardo claimed earlier this month that he needed a vacation from Formula 1 in order to reset for 2024. In an interview with Sky Sports F1, he confirmed that he won't have a seat for the upcoming season. Ricciardo also stated, "I can tell with certainty that I won't be on that grid behind a wheel in 2023, but I still want to be involved in the sport and I want to work for a team that still has the goal of returning to the grid in 2024. I believe that a brief break from racing would be beneficial, and then I'll aim to rebuild for 2024. I'm not finished. but it will appear somewhat different. It was widely assumed that Daniel Ricciardo would join Mercedes as a reserve driver. Now though, it appears as though he would rejoin Red Bull, where he shared a team with three-time world champion Max Verstappen from 2016 through to 2018. The Australian may no longer be anticipated to join Mercedes as a reserve driver. Who knows? However, this leaves Ricciardo's previous team as a potential landing location, according to Sky Sports F1 writer Ted Kravitz. After Ricciardo's Q1 withdrawal at the US Grand Prix, Kravitz commented, "I've got some fantastic news for Daniel Ricciardo supporters. He might not have a racing driver for the upcoming season, but from what I gather, he has already secured a reserve driver drive for an F1 team." Kravitz responded when asked which team, "We assumed Mercedes since their reserve driver, Nick de Vries, is departing for AlphaTauri and they now have a vacancy. If it's not a Mercedes, I'm informed, Red Bull is the only team with a backup driver available for every race, leaving no other teams." Verstappen's father told the Formula One magazine that the 25-year-old Dutch driver had profited from his time with Ricciardo. He said, "I believe Daniel Ricciardo, a nice peer with whom he got along well, may have taught him the most. When Ricciardo won the qualifying round, he was a qualifying beast, and Max was a young man." So both teams seem very receptive to the idea of Ricciardo joining them. But the ultimate decision lies with Daniel Ricciardo, and we are just as eager to hear about what team he joins as he is. Both teams hold great potential for him, and since he wants to be a reserve driver, he could learn a lot from frontline drivers on either team he decides to join. So what team do you think Ricciardo will join, and why? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell too so you don't miss any uploads.